What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Jim's Stream of Thought for my first new episode in over a month. Well, truth be told, I hadn't really thought that anything was worth watching or reviewing out there ever since I started rewatching old episodes of Daredevil. But holy cow, just over the weekend I binged what is the hottest thing on Netflix right now and what could possibly be the hottest thing on Netflix ever. I'm talking about the original Korean series Squid Game, created by Hwang Dong-hyuk and starring Lee Jong-jae. This series has a curious name. It's explained in the first episode right away. But I mean, to anyone from the outside looking in, the title Squid Game might suggest a spin-off of SpongeBob SquarePants. But let me tell you right now, just watch one episode and you'll know that this has absolutely nothing to do with a kids show. I mean, it's got more in common with stuff like Hunger Games, Takeshi's Castle, and The Box, among other really dark dystopian forms of fiction and really insane game shows. Okay, Squid Game is about an underground tournament of games played by adults or recruited by a shady organization because they are financially desperate and would stop at nothing to gain the obscene cash prize that awaits them if they are able to survive the games. Okay, now, why did I compare this series to Takeshi's Castle? Because, well, to anyone who's ever watched that series, you know how crazy it is and how very, very often people don't beat the challenges. Well, we all get a good laugh when people fall into the moat or people get knocked off the pedestal while they're trying to finish the game. Okay, Squid Game takes things in a slightly different direction. When people don't win the kids' games that they have to play, and there are 6 of them in the course of the series, they die. Okay, I won't spoil how it happens, but it's graphic. It leaves very little to the imagination as to what happens when they don't make it. Okay. But the violence isn't the attraction here. I mean, this series, it's captivated the world because it's just such an insane take on what people are willing to do when they're desperate. Okay, because since it's 9 episodes long, there is a pretty large cast of characters, but you only need to keep track of 4. Okay, so the main character played by Lee Jong-jae is Song Hyun, a down-on-his-luck chauffeur who also happens to be a compulsive gambler. He lives with his mom. He's divorced. His wife is about to take his daughter and move to the States with her new husband, all of that sort of thing. Plus, this guy is so deep in debt that at the beginning of the series, his creditors basically make him sign away his rights to his kidneys. Okay, so as you can see, he is in way over his head. So it's not hard to see why someone like that would join this mysterious game, especially since he doesn't know what he's in for. Alongside Gyun is his schoolmate, his childhood buddy, Cho Sang-woo, played by Park Hae-soo, who was supposedly a financial genius, but who screwed up big time, embezzled millions, and like Gyun is pretty much up shit creek without a paddle. The third character that we want to take note of is a defector from North Korea, namely Kang Se-byuk, played by Jung Ho-yeon. And her story is pretty interesting too, because having fled from North Korea, she's trying her best to take care of her brother and resorts to being a pickpocket, plus the fact that her parents are still in the North and she's trying to rustle up whatever resources she can to get them out of there. So her motivation for joining the games is pretty clear. And finally, and probably most interestingly, you have somebody that you rarely see in a Korean series. You have a non-Korean character, specifically a Pakistani. Abdul Ali, played by an Indian actor, Anupam Tripathi, who's actually based in Korea. And this guy, well, he's a Pakistani immigrant, and it's heavily suggested that he's in Korea illegally. and he's been working for 6 months without getting paid a penny. So as you can imagine, and he's married with a kid. So as you can imagine, his life is no picnic. So you have the four main characters, you have some other supporting characters, and you have a subplot involving a cop, Hwang Jun-ho, played by Wee Ha-jun, who basically tracks down the game, which is held on a secluded island because his brother was apparently part of the game. More on that later. Okay, so how do you fill up 9 episodes with people engaged in deadly games? Well, it's simple. You build your characters, and the 4 in particular that I mentioned get some really fantastic backstories. The violence doesn't mean anything if you don't care about the people upon whom it's being inflicted. And that was the malaise of like The Walking Dead as the series progressed. After a while, I just stopped giving a crap about what happened to the people in the series. Here, the writers and showrunners make sure that you get to know these people, you get to know the players. In the beginning, I'll confess, I was a bit dismissive of Gyun as a loser. It's like, why the heck would I root for this guy? But as you get to know him in the course of the 9 episodes, you know that he wasn't always like that. He wasn't always a gambler. He wasn't always irresponsible. But he really just hit on some hard times. He was there. He was laid off from his 10-year job in a car factory, and things just never improved for him after that. And so it is with the other characters. The defector, for example, her story is pretty harrowing. I can't imagine life is pleasant for anyone who would want to flee their own country, which is basically what she did. And the same goes for Ali. Ali especially. He's hardly the kind of character you see in these K-dramas, and it's nice and extremely consistent with the show's social, political, and economic commentary that they include one of its most marginalized, an immigrant from from a very poor country. So basically, the story works because you get invested in the characters. And because you're invested in the characters, the fact that every single episode is full of blood-curdling violence, you just wonder, oh my God, which one is going to die next? I hope it's not this one. I hope it's not this one. I hope it's not this one. And to go into any more detail as to what happened would risk spoiling how things turn out. And in fact, I had to delete quite a few videos I recorded because I think I veered too far into spoiler territory. Okay, a word of caution, it's not for kids. My 16-year-old daughter introduced me to this. And I have to say that if you have small children, okay, do not watch this with them. Not even on your freaking phones. Okay, just put your kids to bed and binge, or take it day by day, however you want to watch it. It's not for the weak of heart. I'd like to emphasize. This series it's not just about the graphic violence, it's about the thematic nature of it. And it's about the brilliant juxtaposition of kids' games with such brutality. Okay, one of the now iconic images, the iconic figures in the show is a giant doll. Okay, a giant doll of a little girl that only really features in the first game, Red Light, Green Light, episode 1. She doesn't actually do anything after that. She shows up, she appears. She's not a character. And yet, because of the impression this show has left on the pop culture consciousness, holy cow, she's an icon. Just like the freaking caskets shaped like gift boxes. Damn, this show is so intense. And it's really captured everyone's pulse from what I see, because, well, why do I think that's the case? Because it's about desperate people doing desperate things And who isn't desperate right now in this insane freaking pandemic that's destroyed lives, that's destroyed jobs, that's really turned the world on its ear. This Squid Game is a series for our time. Okay, is it all perfect? I've been basically waxing lyrical about this series for the last 10 minutes or so. It's not perfect. Okay, it's got its share of tropes. The cop subplot, which I think was kind of designed to, I don't know, to distract audiences a little bit from how intense the series can get, and maybe to provide a little bit of an alternative narrative. Some people may like it, but personally, I thought it was hackneyed. Okay, I thought it was unduly cliche in a series that defied so many tropes. It's a series that was able to keep the audience guessing, but the cop narrative was just not my thing. Okay, some people might like it, not me. Okay, was it terrible? No, but the thing is, something as pedestrian as that narrative didn't belong, in my humble opinion, in a series like this. Okay, but to go back, okay, there have also been other issues, like issues with the subtitling. Okay, some Korean language experts or Korean people have taken issue with the translation of some of the dialogue. I'm not going to hold that against them. Okay? Although I will note that when I was watching the series, I noted that some of the subtitles didn't seem to match up. I don't understand Korean, by the way, but there were subtitles where one of the characters says another character's name according to the subtitles. But when you hear the words coming out of the character's mouth, and I'm not going to go into great detail lest I spoil plot points, when you hear the words coming out of the character's mouth, they are clearly not saying the other character's name. Okay, bottom line, the subtitling, the translation needs work. Okay, that's not a major point for me because the narrative is just so tight. It's just so good. The acting is just fantastic. You have the four leads I mentioned. You have a couple of other pretty well-known actors playing supporting roles, including a Korean actor who's appeared in Hollywood movies. And they just carry this narrative so brilliantly. They sell this really utterly messed up, hellish landscape of a story. I mean, they just sell it so brilliantly. I mean, kudos to Lee Jung-jae, who really carries this. His journey is really something else. And kudos also to Jung Ho Yeon, because as I understand it, she was like either a contestant or a winner in Korea's Top Model, and this is her first major acting gig. Okay, I mean, not only is she, in the series, she's one of its principal characters, and in my humble opinion, she did a really good job. Okay, but yeah, is there stuff they could do better in season 2? Yeah, like I said, the subtitling apparently needs work, and well, if they're gonna stick to the cop subplot, I honestly hope they make it more compelling than they did this time around. Okay, but really, this series, it's unlike anything that's out there right now. It captures so poignantly, and so painfully what many of us are going through right now. How it's not about the violence, it's not about the games, but I think what really makes this show connect to so many people, and it certainly did connect to me, was how it reflected at the audience how desperate some people can be. I don't see myself joining a game show where I could die. Okay, I'll be honest in that respect. But the things that motivate these characters is something that resonates, especially, and it's helped along by some brilliant acting and some brilliant writing. Okay, look at that. I managed to cover nearly 15 minutes without spoiling any plot points. So I don't think I'm gonna go any further because this is a series that is best watched cold. Okay, it's best watched without knowing anything because the twists are part of the fun. Don't spoil yourselves. Don't go on Wikipedia. Don't go on whatever site it is that spoils stuff for you. Watch it, enjoy it, and lock up your kids first. I mean, don't certainly lock them out of your rooms. Don't watch this with them. This is for grown-ups only, strictly. Okay? So how do I rate this on my return to Jim's stream of thought? I give it a solid 9. Okay, I deduct points. I deduct the single point for both the subtitling issue and the cop subplot, which didn't really sing to me. But everything else was just so utterly compelling. I could not possibly give it anything less. And another thing I'd like to point out as I wrap up is that one of the strengths of this series is that unlike so many other things on Netflix, whether it's their movies or some of their series, it carries its momentum all the way through from the first episode to the last. It's brilliant that way. Okay, that's it. I better stop there. But please do make it a point to check this out. It's brilliant, utterly brilliant. Bravo, Netflix. Bravo. Okay, that's it for this review. You know the drill. If you like what you see, give me a like and a subscribe.